This is the Rising Goddess Podcast, and I'm your host, Michelle Torrance. This is a space where when we start diving deep, we're talking spiritual, mental, and physical. We're getting real and connecting with ourselves and others in the most intimate ways. We'll be talking all things sacred sexual, relationship building, womb healing, connection, and connecting with and through our bodies, how to use our sexual and sensual energies to create, manifest, and heal our lives in our individual and collective ancient feminine lines, while intertwining our healing and connection with the divine masculine. We'll learn from amazing humans who take time and share their wisdom and sacred healing magic. Rising humans who are here in this world to be healers, teachers, guides, priestesses, warriors, shamans, and all divine sisters and brothers in rising. We'll get witchy, sassy, sexy, and saucy, talking all things that align us with our true nature and authentic selves, creating a community of divine feminine and masculine rising to be a massive part in this shift of world healing. So grab some green juice, light some cannabis, get your blankets, or sit by the fire. Let's rise up together. Catch you on the inside, dolls. Hello, everyone. I wanted to come in here and talk to you briefly before you head on into the episode. I gotta tell you, I was a little apprehensive in actually releasing this episode because I was starting to feel like, oh my gosh, am I just being too much? And I did a podcast interview with a beautiful goddess the other day, and we got on the conversation and topic of our too muchness. And I realized, you know what? I'm going to drop this. This is how I feel. This is how I felt in that moment. This is a pretty intense episode, at least the most intense for me. I was feeling pretty lit up. So there are some cuss words, so if you do have a little around and they're sensitive to those words, I would encourage earbuds or headphones or wait until they're not around. So without further ado, go ahead and take a listen, and I'd love for your feedback on it, and I'd love to have a conversation about this and open it up. So catch you on the flip side. What is up, my beautiful people? I'm sitting here. I was going through Facebook and I was activated to speak up on something. I saw something and it lit me up. It burned my fire. It stoked my fire, whatever the saying is, however you want to call it. It got me going, and I wanted to talk about something. And so I am doing this episode. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and just start recording because I really want to talk about this. I was going to make a post. I was going to type about it, and I still may make a post when I drop this episode. But I was scrolling through Facebook. I had just gotten done with a beautiful interview with the beautiful Summer Garner, and that episode will be dropping soon. I don't have the episode number yet, but I will get that for you. But as I was done, I was just scrolling through Facebook, and I came across this group that apparently I was invited to. You know, when you get quote unquote invited to groups, or when people add you to a group, and then you don't know about it until you're like, wait a minute, what post is this? So I see this post come through, and I don't know the people very well, but here's what the post said. It was this picture of this gentleman who was just basically standing in a garage or whatever, holding like a shot glass. Like you could tell it was like a picture that was taken from a friend at some sort of gathering in the garage of some sort. We've all had those. Don't give me any bullshit like you haven't done that. You know what kind of picture I'm talking about, right? So it's just this picture, bad lighting, whatever, right? So the person who posts this is a female, gender-wise, who stated that she got this picture and a message, and this person's looking for a girlfriend. You looking for anyone, ladies? LMFAO. And then I saw the comments that were dropped down below, all from the female gender species. And I was appalled. I was lit the fuck up. I couldn't believe the patriarchal energy, the toxic masculinity running through all of these comments. Now, look, I am not fucking perfect. Okay, I know this, but what I know for sure about me is that I work hard daily not to judge myself, therefore to not judge others. And then this entire thread that I saw moving forward was all pure judgment. And I was shook. I got to be honest. I was like, you can hear it in my voice now. I'm still kind of processing this, what I saw, because it was so clear to me. And it wasn't clear to me before, because in my past, I would be somebody who would have participated. I would have been somebody who would have been like, oh, whatever. I don't even know what I would say now, because that's just not who I am anymore. But I would have participated in whatever the judgment party was going on. Now, and this is the crazy part, I would allow myself to participate in the judgment party, but I wouldn't allow myself to participate in the collective community successful party. Isn't that funny, what we allow ourselves to do, what we hold space for within ourselves and for others, and what we are available for? And so I used to be available for judgment on all people, judgment and criticism on all people. So I understand that that is where a lot of people are. But this group was so called a community type group of quote unquote spiritual people. Now, I am not trying to ride high on some spiritual high horse or anything, because again, I am not perfect. I am a human and I fuck up all the time. And I don't know all, and I'm not here to know all. But what I do know is that energy, that community of judgment is not what I would call spirituality. And I came down and I was talking with my husband about it, because I was just literally just appalled at the blatantness of what was happening. And I'm like, I'm really tying this in. It's like I'm trying to think of like the title for this episode, right? Because as you can hear it in my voice, there's just so much that's wanting to come out with this. We are still living in the patriarchal society, right? We're shifting into an enlightenment. We're moving towards the age of Aquarius, right? We are here. We are awakening. We are rising. 5D is happening. And if you're following me and this is the new time, like the first time you're hearing me talk and I'm getting spiritual, fuck woo-woo. I don't like the term woo-woo. It's fine for other people, but me personally, this is something that is my life. This is spiritual practice. Everything that I do is a spiritual practice. So we can get onto the Tantra philosophies later as I continue to learn them, because again, I don't know all. But I am going to have some amazing guests on the podcast. So please make sure you are downloading it and that you are listening, because how else are you going to get this amazing stuff without that? So I digress quite a bit. But what I realize is that the patriarchal conditioning is so deep and so rampant within women that we are using the toxic masculinity tactics to protect ourselves, thinking that we're playing the game. And it's just so fucked up. It's so fucked up. We don't need to jump into the judgment pool or the judgment party and start fucking judging every single person. This guy, we don't know what this guy could be. Sure, he wasn't the type physically that I would find physically attractive, my own personal self, but that doesn't mean that he's not a great person. That doesn't mean that there isn't somebody who does find him physically attractive and will have a connection with him or whatever the case may be. But that doesn't give us the right to start fucking being bitches. And I say bitches, right? What is a bitch? A bitch is a female dog, right? Somebody who just puts their head in the ground, sticks their ass up, and doesn't give a fuck about what they're saying or what they're doing or who they are. And I may get flack for this episode. People may stop following me, whatever. That's how I feel about this right now. That's how I think of the term. I don't like the term. I was at, when I was a health coach, I went to their annual convention. And there's a speaker there, and she doesn't like the word bitch. She likes to use the word popple, and I loved it. I use it periodically still. So if you my popples out there, y'all know who I'm talking to. But we feel we have to use this toxic masculinity to play the game. We're not here to play that game anymore. We are at a time in our lives where we no longer have to turn on each other and turn on the masculine to rise up for ourselves, to protect ourselves, to look good, to feel good. That doesn't feel good. We all know that, right? When you're going through and you're gossiping with somebody, and we've all gossiped, whether a certain time in our life, young, as a kid, growing in through teenage years, wherever, even around the water cooler, whatever, right? We've all been through a phase of gossip. I'm not too fucking proud to say I haven't. Of course I have. But we don't feel good when we do that. We may get a dopamine high, right? We may get Simon Sinek does that. He snaps every time he says dopamine. So we may get a dopamine high from a rush of community and camaraderie with these people. But then as soon as we walk away from that situation, we start to feel it, don't we? We start to feel that gut feeling. We start to feel that dread because we know that as soon as we walked away, they weren't gossiping about the other person anymore that you were standing there gossiping with them. They were gossiping about you. And so when I see these women making this post, trying to stand up and justify the fact, well, it's our turn to do this. No, fuck that. That's not how it works. You don't fight fire with fire. You don't build community and sisterhood by tearing down another human being. Whether or not you agree with his energy or the other person's energy or whomever. The only way that we're going to get and shift out of this patriarchal conditioning and out of the patriarchy leading is not to go into full-blown matriarchy. No, that's not it either. It's not cutting the dick off and saying, go females, only women rule and all that shit, because that's not the case either, because then we would be out of whack again. The only way to shift from this patriarchy conditioning, this toxic masculinity, is to look within, remove the judgment, and start to look at every human being as a co-creator with you, which is a balance and a harmony of both divine, masculine, and feminine. And I can go even deeper in that as I continue to study my own tantric philosophies and start to learn some things. We can even go and say that there even is no separation between the masculine and the feminine, that it is all one. But we have to be willing to go through the shadow work, and it's time to stop the bypassing. It's time to stop the running. It's time to stop letting the addictions lead. It's time to stop the codependency that has been rampant for thousands of years that we have allowed ourselves to be available for. And the only way to go about that is to go within, shift within, ask yourself these questions. And if you are unable to traverse that land alone, then reach out to somebody who can help light the way with you. Reaching out for help is not a bad thing. Reaching out to gossip and tell somebody else that they're a piece of shit is. Because the only reason why you're doing that is because you're afraid to look within, because every single human being that we come across is a mirror for ourselves. We are reflections of others and a reflection of within. So if you're a woman out there of the woman gender species, and you want equality. You want to feel confident. You want to feel safe. You want to feel secure. You want to feel sexy. You want to feel sensual. You want to feel powerful. You want to feel connected. Then we need to stop going into the full matriarchy side. We need to stop letting the toxic masculinity and the patriarchy still run the woman show. And the only way to do that is to go within. Whew, shit. I was feeling very powerful with this because this is something that I think is so misunderstood. Feminism is so misunderstood. There's so many different levels of it. I get it. There's levels of everything. But the true base of feminism, the true base of rising up as a goddess, not just as she, but as the collective, I feel like I lost my thought. Does that happen to you? I'm passionate. I'm passionate about this. I'm passionate about the clarity. Oh, that's right. The feminism. Thank you. Feminism isn't about cutting off a penis and saying death to men, women rule. That's still patriarchal. That's still controlling. That's still toxic masculinity leading your feminist charge. For equality, to rise up together as a collective. It's supporting the divine masculine, which is screaming out for help just as the feminine rising through. Not every man is letting the toxic lead. There is divine masculine energy out there that is running through and is wanting to support the feminine, to rise up, to clear a way, to shift from the patriarchy, not to the matriarchy, but to the combined one, the collective of knowing, of loving. And so when I see these posts and I see the comments, it lets me know that there's still so much work to do. And it lets me know that at least I'm moving on the right track, because what feels good for me is not jumping into the judgment party. Discernment and judgment. Those are two words I think that a lot of people maybe misunderstand. And you know what's so funny about words is that words hold meaning and energy, frequency, vibrational frequency individually with each and every one of us individually. One word can hold a vibration with me that may hold a completely different vibration with somebody else. So to me, judgment is egoic and discernment is spirit. So I'm using my discernment and I'm realizing what is still going on out there and where am I, right? I'm looking inward. I'm utilizing this experience myself to look inward and see, where am I still holding this patriarchal conditioning? Where am I still holding this toxic masculinity? Where am I still trying to jump into this judgment party? And I encourage you to do the same. And if you're one of these beautiful humans who feel that keeping yourself available for this judgment party is the way to feel good, I encourage you to ask yourself why. And if you're afraid to walk through the shadow, know that there are light workers that are there to help light the way. We are not meant to do the physical realm alone. Our spiritual journey is a one and only soul spiritual journey, but we are here in this physical plane to connect and to do this physical plane alone. And we utilize the community, the sister, the energy of the collective, so that way we can rise higher individually. So I feel like that's all that's left inside of me for right now. The energy has shifted. It's a new moon, like I said earlier. It looks like I'm going to do myself a new moon reading and some ritual. So if you hung on this long, thanks. If you still love me, thank you too. And I hope that whatever level you're at, whether this podcast pissed you off or it didn't, I encourage you to look inward and ask yourself, where am I holding on to patriarchal conditions? Where am I holding on to the toxic masculinity that I am fighting to shift and change, but yet I'm still using as a form of protection? And when you start to ask yourself those questions, that right there, the fact that you asked, is going to start the shift. So thank you. Thank you for listening today. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for connecting with the vibration of really, truly wanting to heal and shift from this patriarchal conditioning, because the patriarchy doesn't need to rule women anymore. We don't need that patriarchal conditioning for security. We don't need it for safety. We are not going to get burned at the stake for rising up as goddesses. So have a fabulous day, night, morning, whatever it is, wherever you are. I hope you have a fabulous time, and I will catch you on the next one. Later, dolls.